to another edition of what I think we're calling Flipcast. I'm Brian. Today I've got the one and only Bagz with me. I said Brian. I think most people still call me Ledger. Bagz, what am I supposed to call myself on this?
I don't know. I mean, are you doxxed at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I'll call you Brian.
You can call me Brian. I'm still going to call you Bagz.
That's fine.
I know your name, but I'm still going Bagz. Man, we go back a couple years now. You've taken my whole family on your boat, including my in-laws. So I feel like we're tight. And you've been doing crypto for a long time, but you went deep on the community side of things in 2021, got into NFTs independently, and then all of a sudden you take over Kanpai Pandas and just turned it into a whole new beast. How in the world did you decide to take that upon your shoulders?
Drunken stupor. I mean, 100% honesty. Yeah. It was a drunk decision. And I reached out and said, I'll take the project over, and reached out on Twitter. And actually, I mean, you know Primo really well. So Primo's the one that hit me up, and Primo's like, hey, we'll do this. Ghostly Ghosts had just launched like a couple of days before, Omnichain, using layer 0. So of course, when Primo hits you up and he's like, yeah, we'll do it together. I'm like, all right, man, you just do it. So I don't know that it was my best decision ever. I mean, it's kind of panning out to be a good one. Yeah. But we're talking about like, even after I took over, after we, did the Omnichain mint on 7 different, chains, it was still a 7-month mint out.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you've been in this business, like nobody survives a 7-month mint out. At least I don't know of any, and then actually come back to be like a success story. But I mean, it looks like we're turning out to be, but it's been a lot of work down that road.
Yeah, man. Yeah, a lot of people too. And then it's once you see some of that success, you're like, oh, you're in this NFT game. You got in a bubble. It's easy, right?
100%. Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, NFTs. Yeah. Those are thing of the past. You must have made a lot of money, this and that. And I'm like, I spent $600K out of my own pocket to get this thing off the ground so that it didn't completely like die down, and not even mint out. And then I've spent like 7 days a week, I mean, this is my sole focus. I mean, as you know, I've got regular businesses, but like this has been 100% of my focus since like last May. So we're coming up on a year now, and it's a seven day a week deal. I mean, you know how it is, building Flip and building other projects. Like, this shit doesn't sleep, especially when you're in a 24/7 market, and your product's been being traded, 24/7. It's like, you got to keep advancing in this space or you get left behind.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Where you're kind of being judged in some ways, or at least by like the worst parts of your community. Like, you're being judged by them at the margins based on the price of the asset because it's liquid and tradable, or semi-liquid and tradable all the time. So they can always opt in or opt out. They're not along for the ride. Because there's no other option. They can do whatever they want.
It's difficult, man. It adds like another layer of complexity there, another layer of stress, for sure. Because I mean, we have to look out for the community, right? I can't make business decisions based on, short-term fluctuations or like, overall market conditions, just in general. I have to make business decisions that I think are going to last like, is this going to be a smart decision 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, 2 years from now, right? And sometimes those decisions aren't things that like get people excited about, right now. And that's a big part of like either trading crypto tokens or NFTs or whatever you want to, whatever you may be trading at the time. Like, people want like instantaneous results. They want excitement. Right? They want, metaverse games, and they want this and that. And so it's in that sense, it's a little bit difficult to build in. At the same time, it's kind of like constant feedback. So at least you've got that on your side.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses, you don't get that, right? You like in the traditional business world, like I'm used to servicing the client, and then, say a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, I get a review, whether it be negative or whether it be positive, right? Yeah. And most of them are negative, as we know. I mean, go on to fucking Yelp. Most results are negatives. Those people are much more vocal. So it's hard to kind of make changes and pivot when you're dealing with back data. versus like having instant data just constantly streaming. It's overwhelming, but at the same time, that community feedback's critical. And that's like one of the coolest, proponents of Web3 in general.
How do you keep people on the path when you're like, all right, I have a vision, and in a minute I want to dig into what that vision is. I have a vision for where this thing can go and what it's like, but it's multi-stage, like it's steps. So you're like, how are you feeding them enough to stay satiated? They know you're working and grinding, but like you can't just throw it all out there. You can't be fully transparent when some of it's, partnerships or development stuff that takes months to put together.
So I'll say this: with a 7-month mint out, it was brutal. It drug on. I questioned my sanity many times, whether why I was doing this. Should I sell it off to somebody else? What should I do? But at the same time, over those 7 months, because I stayed engaged and we kept building and kept adding and kept evolving the project, it built a really, really strong community. So, I mean, we've got I would say probably 45% of our people that minted last May or April or whenever it was, still haven't sold any. And that's a pretty strong metric to me. Now, I think a lot of that is I've been very clear on my communication as far as, who I am, what I've done in the past, what I'm doing with the project, where it's headed. I mean, we stay pretty involved. I mean, whether it's on Twitter, Discord, whatever it may be, I think that helps a lot. I think just being around in the space for, 5 full years now and people knowing me, in some sense has helped as well. Versus somebody that just brings up an NFT project. You don't know who they are. They're anonymous, etc. I think if we did it that way, it would be dead. And that's kind of why I tied my name to it in the beginning anyway, was like, here it is. I'm doing it. I'm here to stay. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, etc. Like it's a long-term play for me.
Yeah. Plus, you didn't show up and just start take. Like the first thing I met you with is you came on up only, and you were like, "Let's get this kid some money." And it's like I was like, "Who the heck is this guy?" And that plays a huge role in how do you what's your take on somebody from step one? Is what are they doing? And in your example, it was giving back, and it was contributing to the space, and for nothing in return. And yeah. I think that's a great way to set the standard for what you're doing in the community, so people take it. They know that you're best foot forward.
Yeah, and I think in general that is, especially the people that do know me, and still one of the coolest moments ever in my life, honestly. I ended up having them, they came down, yeah. we got them a place on the beach. They came out on the boat, for a couple of days, had dinner at the house, still stay in touch with them. So to me, that was one of the coolest moments. So honestly, thank you guys. Thanks, CT. We changed a family's lives, but at the same time gave me one of my best memories, ever. So I can't top that one.
Yeah, that was awesome. So in terms of, you take over this project and you're trying to lay the groundwork. I'm sure it's evolved over time, but I feel like y'all got stuff going on left and right. You've got a celebrity poker tournament or a concert type event, and box tickets for sporting events and stuff. So what is Kanpai Pandas? Is it a brand? Is it an access pass? Is it kind of a cultural type of statement? How do you envision the brand? How do you explain it to people beyond it's an NFT?
I would say it's a hybrid. It's a lifestyle brand, but it's also an access pass, right? It's an access, at its truest form, it's an access pass with a PFP attached to it, which has its benefits. But at the same time, where we're headed now with branding and apparel line and partnerships, I'm building what I think will be a 9 to 10 figure brand, down the road. And I've definitely seen that potential over the last, couple of months, especially with the John Jones deal, Ilya Taporia deal, Roy Jones Jr. deal. I mean, we're when I start to see random people wearing our apparel on Instagram, I'm like, okay, this is really kind of taking off. And then now over the next probably 6 to 12 months, you're really going to see us put a strong focus on that. And none of it is tying the brand back to an NFT. just directly connected, right? Like it
Yeah.
will eventually. We've got a plan in place that's going to tie it back to the NFT later. But right now it's like, it's focus on the brand, build the brand through apparel, through content. Like you had mentioned the celebrity poker game. Like we're about to put out a ton of like really well curated, put together content, whether it be, I mean, we're in talks to do like, gambling, golf shows and all kinds of other shit. Kind of like Barstool started small, Milk Boy started small. Luckily I've got enough interesting people around me in my life that we can do some pretty cool content. So that's definitely one of the areas that we're going to focus on. And then we've got a whole Web3 aspect that we're building out right now to tie it in for people that are in the Web3 space, that are in the crypto space, that don't necessarily want to go to a football game or go to a concert or go to a party, whether it be A, they just don't want to get out of their house, or B, it's location issue, right? Or it's travel issue, whatever it may be. So now we've added in this whole like point system that we've built out. We're launching it, in 9 days. Nice. So this is what we spent, like 5 months on building. It's launching in 9 days. So, fingers crossed that goes okay. But that's going to open us up to a ton of people. They're going to be able to change the metadata. There's going to be a full marketplace. It's going to be similar to like a Roblox, structure, Robux, using Robux. We have points, Panda points. They'll be able to go in and buy things, change their metadata, customize their Panda how they want to. We've also developed a system we're calling it dynamic rarity. So there's like a game within a game where the more things that you do to your Panda, you can actually move up the ranks within the rarity, and then earn more points on a daily basis. And then we've got a whole casino, sports book, poker room tied in as well, so that they can use those points across different things. We've got 150 games coming out. They can wager their points against each other. So we're building a Web3 ecosystem. And I'm just not a big fan of these projects. They're like, we're going to build this metaverse game and it's going to bring in millions of people. Like, no, it's not. This, I know this. 90% of the public knows this. Like, you're not going to go compete with guys with $100 billion budgets, right? It's just not going to happen. And we're not trying to. But if we've got people that like to gamble on sports, that like to play poker, that like to play, mini games against their friends, like we're building an ecosystem that's ready-made and packaged that people already do on a daily basis anyway.
Yeah. I think that's one of the cool things too, is when you're not targeting, hey, we're going to go for millions. You may want millions of people to recognize what that brand is, but like they can't actually be part of it because there's only room for 10,000 or 20,000 to be participants, active participants. And the others are like, man, I wish I could be part of that, kind of 100%, aspirational right? brand concept.
Yeah, and eventually people get priced out of the NFTs anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if the brand becomes a success, they get priced out. Now you can drop a sub collection. There's all kinds of things that you can do, after that. But you can expand the brand through different ways. Like we're doing it through sports and gambling and the party lifestyle and poker, whatever it may be. But we're also expanding it through content creation, through apparel, through, huge, massive partnerships that we're putting together. John Jones, Roy Jones, Ilya, like that's just the start of where we're going with this. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. But I've got people in my DMs all the time. They're like, hey, I'm not into NFTs, but I really liked your brand. And I bought a hoodie, because it's just cool. It resonates with me. I'll rock it. And that's all we're looking for right now. Like when I was talking to John and the first round management team, originally they're like, all right, what do we say? What do we stay away from? And I'm like, you know what? You don't say anything other than, this is my streetwear brand and I like it and I rock it. And here's a website where you can go buy a hoodie. Because
what gave you the insights on kind of the streetwear and, the branding side of things from a fashion perspective? Because I feel like y'all just kind of came in and nailed it right away where most people are floundering. You have a great thread where you're making fun of some of the swag and stuff that people have. Like the Dora the Explorer vest or whatever.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah. Artifact was that. What a disaster that is.
Yeah. So like, how did you connect on that front and just know like this is what we got to do to make it work?
So I've been into fashion for a long time, right? I ran a sewing factory in Mexico for 5 years in my 20s. I know that industry. My wife was a buyer for high-end boutiques. She used to go to Milan and New York and LA for all the fashion shows. She'd buy all the high-end goods. So I've been in that world for a long time. And I've said from the very, very beginning, like people wanted merch like, last year, right? And I just kept saying, guys, like I refuse to put out Bored Ape hoodies. I'm not going to do it. If I do something, it's going to be either a collab with a designer or it's going to be really high end stuff and we're going to do it properly. Now, we really weren't planning on launching anything as far as apparel goes until probably mid-April. We ended up launching in February just because that John Jones deal became available. And when you have John Jones come to you and say, hey, like, I fuck with your brand, I like the brand, I'll definitely make it my streetwear brand. And I'm fighting, in 30 days for the heavyweight, belt. Yeah. Like you jump on it, right? So we pushed things up a little bit to get that going. But I feel like we did it right. Like, I was meticulous on looking over the materials. And I knew it was a hit when we got to Vegas. And I met with John. I met with like his whole training team, which is all UFC guys, all the managers. And they came up to my suite and they're like, hey, let us check this stuff out. And they took tons of stuff. But then where I really knew we had something was over the next, 4 or 5 days that I'm in Vegas, they're calling me and they're like, hey, like my boy just got in town. Can he get a hoodie? He likes it. And so then it was like people constantly coming to my room for 5 days. I mean, pro football players, MMA guys, comedians, like celebrities were coming up there and like, hey, can I get 2 more of those for my boys? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can, And so that's when I was like, all right, we've really got something here. And then of course, John wore it, on Media Day, which was massive. That goes out to, tens of millions of people. It's on every sports channel on the planet. You've got him pulling up and, it's just, and it's a branding thing, right? So like we rented out like a whole fleet of Escalades for that week and we put the panda heads on them, right? And so everywhere he's going, getting in and out of, like literally, I guess, going into the fight that night, they're like, John Jones arriving and there's the panda head right there, on the shot on UFC. Like that's the kind of stuff, the little attention to details when you're building a brand like that really pay off big in the long run. And that's one of the things that John told me is, specifically, he's like, just these little things that I've noticed already is like, I can tell that you're a guy that pays attention to detail, and I am, right? Like, but if you're going to build a power brand, that's the way you've got to be. And so we've taken the right steps so far. Now we're kind of at that stage of like, it's time to really ramp it up. So it's going to be an exciting stretch here for us. I mean, if you look at like our schedule I've got April 1st, which is in like 2 weeks. Roy Jones Jr. is fighting Pettis on a pretty good card. Masvidal's hosting. His corner guys are wearing our stuff. April 8th, I'm flying right back down. They've got Adesanya fight in Miami for UFC, the main card. I've got Ilia Topuria flying in. We're doing a pop-up there, meet and greet with Ilia. We're going to have some of the guys in the gear there. John's probably going to fight like on the main July card. Our stuff will be all over the place again. Ilia may head a card in June or July, one of the two. Our stuff's going to be everywhere over the next, 12 months.
Do you get these guys excited about the brand and the crypto component? Are they already interested in NFTs but don't know how to get involved? Like, did that help? Or was it purely like, this is a cool brand and I like Bagz and the NFT component is neat but secondary?
Totally secondary. And that was the thing, was like, because when they brought the deal, to John and said, hey, he likes the brand. Like we think we could get this put together. And I said, okay, well, that's great, but I want to talk to him on the phone because I'm not doing this deal unless I talk to him directly. And so when I talked to him on the phone, I'm like, do you rock with the brand? Like, do you like it? Is this something you'd wear? The logo, the designs that we're putting out, it'll be high quality. And he's like, yeah. So we spent like 45 minutes on the phone. But yeah, when like I said earlier in the discussion, like when they were coming to me and saying, hey, how do you want them to describe the NFT? I'm like, don't describe the NFT. I want this to reach millions and millions of people that don't even necessarily want to be in the NFT or crypto world. I don't want to turn people off on a brand because it's associated with crypto. I want to build the brand, and then we'll tie the NFTs in later to the people that have an interest. If they don't have an interest, it's not a big deal. Keep buying hoodies, keep buying apparel, or whatever else we put out. Like, that's the way I look at it.
What about from a who you connect with? Because I think some of the people that are going to listen to this, they're like, well, they're crushing it in terms of how to make these partnerships. How do we know, like, okay, let's go in on this angle? So y'all are connecting with sports and martial arts and some of the gambling scene. So like, how did you zero in on that? What made you think that it could connect there? And then how do you envision, some other people can niche down and find like where their brand could appeal?
Yeah, I'd say, those 7 months that we had, when we bought the suite at Allegiant, we saw how popular the football games, we saw how popular the concerts were, and then we did a couple of UFC suites, and it was like those were the demand on those was through the roof, and just talking to the guys all the time in Discord, I mean, like for stretches there, I was in there a lot, you know what I mean? I was just getting feedback and talking to the guys and seeing what their interests were, and that tended to be where it is. And if you look at it, like if you look at this 20 to 40 or 50, I say 40, I'm over 40 now. So let's bump this like 20 to 50, 55. If you look at that male demographic, like that's massive. That's a massive, I mean, everybody wants that. Like, for example, I mean, Monster Energy was texting first round, and Monster's, John's biggest, sponsor. And they were like, who's this Panda deal? What's this deal? And we have a very, big crossover as far as like who our demographic is. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on, for the foreseeable future, for sure. Now we'll expand out and make it more inclusive, as we grow. But at the same time, like if your bread, you stick to your bread and butter, stick to your niche. And that's what we'll do. We'll stay in our lane.
Yeah. I liked what you said earlier about kind of the evolving avatar of an NFT and, establish your own rarity by participating. Another component though that y'all did was actually a refresh of the designs, and some of it was the same trait, but you just made it better. And I don't think I've ever seen that in NFTs, where some, collection might have like some artistic regrets and they're like, man, I wish we had higher contrast on that, or like just nuked this trait over here, or, massage this one over here to just look a little better when it's in combination with other traits. Like what made you just, cause that's a tough, that's kind of that last 10% that's tough. It's like, can take just as much time as the original. So what made you decide to spend the energy on kind of the refresh of all traits? And were you worried about blowback for people saying, hey, you're changing my NFT?
For sure. I mean, it's a gamble, anytime you mess with the art, especially when people have been holding that art for, nearly a year.
Yeah.
At the same time, I looked at it this way. I was not a fan of the art. It was just not very polished. Yeah. And so what we did was we just upgraded every aspect of it, but we didn't change any of the traits. All the metadata stays the same. And if you look at what we're building now as to where we're introducing new traits that you can buy with points, it had to be changed because you couldn't overlap this new great art on top of older faded out art that just doesn't pop, right? So then you've got these different accessories and things that are mismatched. So we didn't touch any of the traits in the original collection. Now you will be able to, for example, if you don't like, something on the head or a weapon or whatever it may be, you'll be able to remove that stuff, once we launch our whole, marketplace and decks at the end of March. So you'll be able to change it however you want to then, but you couldn't combine like good art with bad art. And so I just said, we've got to do it now before we get everything launched.
When you say launching your marketplace, like how do you envision that? What's the collection specific marketplace look like, and how does it what's going to encourage people to trade there?
So when I say marketplace, it's not really like I'm not talking about like a tradable marketplace like OpenSea.
The NFTs, it's more of the stuff associated with the NFT.
Right. So for example, you open up we're calling it the PP decks, the Panda Point decks. So when you open that up, you log in, it brings in all your pandas. If you have 100 pandas, it brings them all in. You can essentially swipe through, select, you can move points, because they're all accruing on a daily basis. I'm not doing any of the staking stuff. I don't like it. I'm not trying to lock up supply. It just accrues on a daily basis. So you can take those points, you can select a panda. You can move all the points to one panda if you want to. And then we have tiers, think, 90% of the games that are out there. You got common all the way up to ultra rare, right? And they cost more points and the supply goes down as you move up the chain. So then you can add those items to your panda, and then it'll tell you in the panda builder, it'll show you. So you can actually try it on at the same time. And then it'll also show you like how many points it'll increase and what tier you'll move up to prior to making the purchase. So that'll all be available once we launch.
That's cool. How challenging has this tech side of this been? Is it tough or does it come naturally to you?
I mean, I'm good at managing teams anyway, but luckily I've got an amazing team behind me. Like we've got, there's 7 of us full time plus, and that doesn't even include like another 6 or 7, Discord mods that do a ton of work for us that have been with us for, a long time. They're pretty much, full-time guys. So I've got a big team around me. I don't do any of the tech. I mean, I think everybody knows that. But we've got good devs.
There's something there to coordinating it, making sure it flows right, all that stuff.
For sure. I mean, you just got to keep it on track and make sure, the product's, working well. I'll just say this. We've had I brought in like 100 community members that all hold pandas, and they've been beta testing this thing for 45 days now. So I was very, very conscientious about like, this needs to be right when we launch it. And we probably pushed it off. Like, I really wanted to launch it sometime in January. It just wasn't ready. And then I wanted to launch it in February. And then we got into beta testing, and there was bugs and issues with layering and different, things that come up. And so I said, look, let's just push it off till it's ready. Like, it's not like we're sitting here in a booming bull market either. So, it's and we've got enough announcements coming out, and we've got new announcements. It feels like every week at this point.
Yeah. So you're balancing kind of this, building on the tech side, business development on the brand development side, and meanwhile, just kind of trying to manage the day to day. Have you been funding this all yourself? Did y'all raise money, or how's it been structured?
No, I mean, we minted out, 9,000. So that brought in a few mil. I funded in the beginning. But haven't had 2 cents. We've still got 1,000. I mean, if you look at it, we've still got 1,000 that we haven't even minted out. We'll be making an announcement on that probably in the coming weeks as well, and get that out of the way. Just because we need to finish off the collection. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're fine. But no, I haven't funded, since the very beginning.
And then what about the multi-chain component? Is that still a big part of the way things play out, or how do you envision that?
It is. I think we'll probably add, more layers to that, more kind of game theory to that as we go throughout the year. It just hasn't been a major focus for us right now with everything that we've got coming out and all the announcements and deals that we're putting together. I mean, we just announced a deal with Karate Combat, and I don't even know if you know this one, but so Karate Combat's a physical fighting league. They're launching a token mid-May, and we signed a deal with them. We're getting nearly 7 figures of their token, and it's going right back to the community. So they'll be able to, like, each event, it'll be, say, a $25,000, $50,000 prize pool, whatever that may be. And it's like fantasy sports. So they use that, they receive the token, and we got an incredible deal on that. So, I mean, if that thing, if it does a multiple, then you're looking at a really massive prize pool. But we've done all kinds of stuff. I mean, we've got a $25,000 pool running with March Madness right now. We did fantasy football. One of the guys, went to the Super Bowl. So we gave out Super Bowl tickets for that. So like all the major, fantasy stuff we're into as well. We did World Cup. We gave away like $5,000. And the beautiful thing is like, I've got enough connections that this is all getting paid for, and it's not out of the treasury. Right. So like we strike a partnership, they pay for it. And then our community just gets free money out of it. So it's hard to beat that business model.
What's it look like when you have the in-person stuff? Are you seeing people that are into the brand that are showing up, but they don't own the NFT? Or are you seeing people that own the NFT come and use it as the access pass? Like, what's the blend been like?
So most of the stuff we've done has been pretty much token gated. Now that's going to change. Like last year, we threw our first festival, which was Pandemonium. We had like, I don't know, seven, 8 big DJs played for like 7 hours. I think we rented out the downtown.
Keyboard Monkey.
Yeah, Keyboard Monkey played. Dr. Fresh, Tyga, Rich the Kid. It was pretty good collection. And then we rented out Dre's After Hours after that. But that was a token gated event. Now, where we're going with this is eventually we're going to start to sell tickets to this, right? It's going to be a much bigger festival. We've got some really cool ideas, talking to Karate Combat and talking to First Round. We may turn it into a festival with actual fights this year.
Okay.
All combined, which would be cool. Like you have a fight, you have a DJ playing in between rounds, you have a DJ playing, in between fights. And then we have a performer come on, like after every 3 or 4 fights, we have a performer come on and do like a 30-minute set and then go back to the fight. So it'll be a full-on festival and party with fights involved.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to go to that. Where is that?
It'll be dope.
Where would that be?
It'll probably be in Vegas. They've got a like where we threw it last year holds like 15,000 people.
Oh wow! Dang. Yeah,
I've
never been to Vegas in my life. I feel like
you got to go with me.
I don't know if I'd live through that.
I don't know. I keep saying the same thing, and I keep coming back. So
yeah, that'd be fun. Man, I think y'all are just doing a lot of really interesting stuff, and I think what I like about it is it's original, kind of carving your own path through this, and that's why, one, I want to talk to you today, and then two, like why I want Flip to be involved in some of what you're putting together. One of the things in the NFT market side of things, and I know you've primarily been in the biz dev side talking about those things, but how do you feel about some of the drama going on in NFT land? Are you trying to ignore it? Is it important to your business model, especially like around royalties and those kinds of concepts? Like, are royalties important to your business model? Do you think they should be important to an NFT project's business model?
So they shouldn't be in the long term. I totally understand where, royalties for a certain, period of time can be important, especially as you grow, especially depending on like how much you minted, what you're trying to do. So yeah, they're important. Now, they're not as important for what we're doing because we're going to have so many different revenue streams, and we've got so many partnerships coming down the pipeline that we'll be bringing in money either way. But yeah, I feel like royalties, honestly, I guess there's two sides to it, right? Like, especially for artists, like nobody gets paid if you flip a piece of physical art, right? You get a good chunk of money, and you do, and like especially in NFTs, you get a pretty good chunk of money up front compared to physical art, right? And then to continue that ongoing, it's a debatable situation. Now, where I look at like Blur and OpenSea right now, they're just pissing down their own legs. I've seen this happen. I was in this same battle a decade ago. I'm in a commission-based business. One of my businesses and my competitors started dropping rates, and then I started dropping rates, and then eventually you look at each other and you look at each other and you go, okay, do we want to stay in business or do we want to win, right? And so that's eventually what's going to happen. Now, royalties probably aren't going to go back up to where they were. I would, my wild speculation, land somewhere between like 3 and 4% would be my guess. And I think that's probably fair, buyer, seller side, that's fair. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I want to see who blinks first.
How do you feel about royalties for other things? Because y'all have this unique perspective where you could distribute NFTs as tickets. So you could token gate, but you could also have like, if you went beyond just a panda being required to enter, the ticket for the event could be royalty. And if it's a hot ticket, like it could trade on secondary. And then I think that's where I think royalties really are interesting and like really important, is because the venue can say, go for it. If y'all want to trade it up, we'll keep getting our 5% every single time. It hypes the event. It's kind of a win-win solution. And I feel like the royalty matters there. But if you eliminate the royalty in the trading of the event tickets, then you're just going to say like, no, like the people who originally bought the tickets get the tickets because there's nothing in it for you. How do you feel about royalties when it comes to event ticketing?
I mean, yeah, I think it's there's something there down the road. One of the cool things that we did when we did Pandemonium last year was we airdropped, because every panda gets a free ticket to Pandemonium, right? So we airdrop those in an NFT collection so that they could sell those. That way if you've got somebody that wants to go, but you're an owner in Singapore, right? You're not going to Vegas, like you can just sell the ticket to somebody. So I think there's some ways to do that that benefit your holders. That's the way that we chose to, was like give them something, give them an airdrop that they can actually sell. And as this festival picks up steam and gains a little bit of notoriety, then that ticket becomes valuable, right? And say that ticket goes for, $300 and maybe a VIP ticket goes for $600 or $700. Like that's every year right back in their pocket. So there's definitely something there.
Where else do you think there's some product market fit opportunity for NFTs, especially blending it with kind of these real world concepts, whether it's the merchandise or tickets or access?
I think there's some cool stuff going on in the ticketing world. I've looked at several like seed deals that were coming out. The problem is trying to break into that arena, right? Because like Ticketmaster is so tight on their stuff, they're going to want to run it. Then you got people like Live Nation that they don't want to do business with anybody else. I mean, I don't know if you I'm sure you didn't even hear about this, but we bought when EDC was going on. This was last year, very, very early on in the project. We bought 2 prime tables to EDC in Las Vegas. They were $50,000 a piece. Okay. So we spent $100,000 on 2 tables, and we were going to distribute it to our community. And I got a call from Dave Grutman in Miami, and he's like, "Hey, man, Live Nation or Insomniac or whoever that is that owns that, they just bought out my company. They don't want you selling these tables. They're not for resale." And I'm like, "They're not for resale. You don't understand. I bought them. They're for our community. They can resell them if they want to. We can't really control that." Anyway, it turned into a big shit show. I ended up just saying, "Give me my money back. Like, I don't want to do business with you guys at this point." And I don't think they wanted to do business with me either. But that's kind of the issues that you run into when it comes to dealing with conglomerates, right? Whether you're trying to break into, like I've seen some deals with like major hotel, trying to do like major hotel chain NFTs and this and that. The problem is they don't want to play ball. Like it's nearly impossible to get them to try to break you off a little piece of the pie, even if you solve something for them.
What seems interesting to me there is it's not regulation really holding those back. It's just disruption of incumbents. And that seems pretty inevitable to me, even if it's a hard battle, like what you faced in a...
It'll be a battle.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you run into issues too, though, is like whether we're talking about the metaverse or whether we're talking about starting an NFT to take on, ticketing solutions. You're going up against really big money here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And somebody getting $2 or $3 million on an NFT drop isn't going to solve that. It's going to take somebody with deep pockets, $100 million or whatever to disrupt one of those industries. Even if it's great tech, like it's gonna be nearly impossible unless you've got really, really deep pockets.
What gets you the most excited right now on 2 fronts? One, what's coming for Pandas, let's say in a multi-month sense at least, and then number 2, kind of the broader ecosystem, other people you see that are doing cool stuff or concepts that you think are really cool, assuming it's not the like metaverse thing, which I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I mean, I like land, but I don't know, digital land. There's a lot of it.
I'm a big real estate guy, man. I love to develop houses. People buy them very quickly. I don't know about infinite, metaverse land. Definitely not my play. So Pandas specifically, I'm really excited to see where this brand goes. Like after I got back from Vegas, and I was talking to like the whole first round team and my advisors because they all came in for it. And every single one of them was just telling me, "Yo, like this really has major legs." And these are big guys, right? Like Cohen is a general partner at United Talent Agency. He handles some of the biggest names in the industry. Espinosa is another advisor. He ran comms for Trump and Obama White Houses, like digital media guru, right? And then I'll just break it here because I'll probably announce before it plays anyway. But First Round Management is coming on as an advisor. So all 3 of the top guys at First Round, they manage 150 athletes. Wow. And they were just telling me like the way it was received across the board and the amount of people that were asking us about the brand, like that shit gets me excited for sure. I mean, it got all of them excited, That's where they were like, because when you bring on an advisor, I mean, I'm sure you have as well. It's like sometimes they put in the effort, sometimes they don't, right? These guys have been nonstop in my text messages ever since we got back from Vegas, and it's just because like they're going, "Hey, we've got a chance at $1 billion brand here, and you can't sleep on that." And that's the kind of shit that gets me excited. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a fun year for the Pandas. We're going to have so much going on. It's going to be announcement after announcement. So I'm excited, to see that. Market turns around hopefully and gets a little bit better.
For our holders. Not reliant on some like crypto cycle for success though. It's like building outside of that completely, and obviously that's fuel on the fire later, but it's not requisite.
Right, and Poopy kind of had a point, with Doodles. He just phrased it completely wrong. We're not an NFT project anymore. That's I totally understand where he's coming from. Is like, hey, we're building all this real world tangible value now, but you still have to get it. You still have to, get it back in the hands of your holders, and you can't shrug those guys off because they're the ones that gave you the fucking money to start, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think Luca's doing it right too, whether it's toys or whatever. He's looking for revenue sources outside of Web3, and you have to. I mean, you don't have to. There's going to be a lot of successful projects that rely just solely within the Web3 ecosystem. That's fine. But for me, when I'm used to building, real businesses, I've got to go outside of Web3 to drive those revenue sources. And that's what we're doing. Now, overall ecosystem, I truly believe that NFTs are going to be a huge onboarding proponent for crypto in general. Because people relate to them. Like all you have to do is look around at the communities that come out of these NFTs. And, I mean, we all used to joke around about like how maniacal XRP fans were, for example, back in the day, right? And we would be like, how the hell are you, like in bed with a token, right? That does not, number goes up, number goes down. Well, NFTs to me is that times 1,000. Because now they've got this PFP that they connect with. There's art that they connect with. There's a community that they vibe with. It's, and that's the cool thing about like building these communities is if you're open and honest and upfront about what you're building, then like-minded people tend to funnel in, right? And then now all of a sudden, like Pandas, for example, you've got, thousands and thousands of guys that love football and love poker and love gambling and love, going out at night. Whatever it may be, they just have commonalities, and it's easy for those guys to hang out and vibe with. So, I'm excited about NFTs for that reason in general. It's just I think it's going to be a huge onboarding proponent, and I think people sleeping on that are looking at it the wrong way. Whether you find NFT communities cringe, which I do, a lot of them are. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of them are. I'm not into the mantra culty bullshit. I just like we're building a really cool community of guys that just have like-minded interests. These guys are, I joke around and I call it sophisticated degenerates. Our community is not a bunch of frat boys, right? It's a bunch of guys that have kids, that have businesses, that have jobs, and like to blow off steam and have other interests outside of the computer, right? And so we're just giving them a space to go to.
Yeah, I like that. And you brought up Pudgies, and I talked to Luca last episode, and I do think y'all have done both independently done a great job of like going in a lane, and theirs is definitely the family friendly, cute toys, like squishy Pudgies, and y'all's is kind of this. I like the sophisticated degenerate. I was trying to think of like I was definitely thinking degenerate, but I was like, the sports driven kind of the guys crowd type of concept, and I think you've done a good job of narrowing down on that, and that's fun too. Like if it's people that they're like-minded, they want to do the same types of stuff as you get to hang out together, and you get to participate in the whole thing as a group. That's a lot of fun.
Yes, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like a lot of people sit online and they chirp and they're like, imagine going to an NFT event or imagine going to this. All the ones I've personally been to have been a fucking blast. Like yeah. Nobody talks. I mean, you probably know this too. Like when you go to like crypto BTC Miami, right? Or whatever, as long as you're not going to the conference and you're going to the side parties, after parties, whatever, nobody even talks about NFTs or crypto. Yeah. Like we're all just sitting around talking about, regular shit, talking about family, talking about life, talking about having a good time. It's not even on our forefront. Like we do this. It consumes so much of our lives on a regular basis. It's like we get there and we just want to cut loose. We don't want to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was in Denver. I guess it was last month now. I can't even remember. And the event specific stuff is okay, but you're kind of expected to talk about work. Talk about crypto, but what I enjoyed was like just getting out with some of the same people, but like we just go to a bar somewhere and have cocktails and just chat, and it's or get dinner and hang out, and you might talk some work, but it's not like kind of these up only conversations like let's talk about the business of it, or like the number and all this stuff, and it's more of like the experience of building and like building, having your team and all the struggles that you share and that kind of stuff, and it's a lot more fun when you
100%.
I was big crowd and into the small crowd.
Yeah, when I was in Vegas, we had a huge cocktail party for Panda holders only. We did the celebrity poker game. Had a bunch of Panda holders there. did the fight, we had 3 tables at Hakkasan after. I don't think I had one conversation about NFTs or cryptos the entire 5 days I was there. Not one.
That's awesome.
And it's, that's great because I'm living it and breathing it 365. Like, I'd like to cut loose and enjoy, my time with people, and not discuss floor price and where things are going.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me today on it. In terms of people wanting to keep track, where should they do it? Is it what's your primary social media channels? Is it purely Twitter? People should they dig into Discord or
Twitter, IG, Discord. Like if you go to our Twitter, it's Kanpai Pandas. You can find our link tree there. It's got Discord, IG, all that stuff in there. Where KPWEAR.
Is access to the marketplace and stuff going to be through the website?
Yes. Yeah. So everything is like we're launching a full new website at the same time. So it's going to be all inclusive. And see, that's going to be like, I'll give a little bit of alpha here on, how I'm going to use apparel to drive, people to NFTs, for example. So one of the things we're doing is we're putting the panda head like on the hem of all the clothing, and it's going to have a QR code inside of it. And so when you scan that panda head, it'll take you back to a landing page, and that landing page is going to be whatever video did we decide to be, right? Like, so it may be the Vegas recap. It may be changed up for the John Jones win. We can change that stuff at all times. So now you've got, if we do it right and we pull it off, now you've got hundreds of thousands of people that are scanning, QR codes, going to the website. They're seeing kind of this lifestyle brand, this lifestyle party, et cetera. And then they can dig in and learn there, right? So I feel like that's a much better way to drive people to NFTs instead of having John Jones go up there and say, buy a Kanpai Panda. Like nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to hear that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, also too, like I have a couple of crypto shirts where it's like, it says Bitcoin on it, and I'm never going to wear that. Like, never going to wear that. I wore a Solana shirt one time because I thought Solana was not well known enough. And now a guy he's a friend of mine now, but he was like, "Yo, Solana!" And I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You're
like, "Oh God,
elementary
no."
school.
It's like either like if I see somebody, I'm like, either I want to either make fun of them or I want to rob them. One of the two. Like, why do you want to wear that shit?
I legitimately did not think there was brand awareness in my town for Solana, but there was. And ever since then, if I'm gonna have a jacket on. But like for y'all, if it says like rugged or something, like you got to be really deep in crypto to really understand the crypto connection there. Like I'd love to wear the hat with the panda and the XIs. I think that's really cool. And you may not want it to be cool to me because it's not the
if you and I think it's cool, we may be off
here.
Maybe
a big problem. But yeah, man, I think you're doing a great job. I love what you've established with the brand, and I think seeing you connect to people in real life and like work on the biz dev side as hard as you have, I think that's going to pay huge dividends, and I appreciate you sharing it today.
I sure hope it does.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, anytime. Y'all, we'll link up everything, but follow Bagz and Kanpai Pandas and go to the website. It's kanpaipandas.io.
Or .com, either one.
Or .com, and check them out, see what they've got. I've got, let's see, my panda, oh shoot, I had the number. 3392. You can check it out. I got the God sword on it and the koi tattoo. I just got rid of my last koi fish. I had like 20 koi fish for the last year, not really on purpose, but so I liked having the koi tattoo on there.
How do you accidentally have 20 koi fish?
It's a story, man. I'll tell you in person. All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch y'all later. See you, guys.
Bye, brother.
Thanks so much to Mela B for the music. Check her out at Mela B Official.
I must be a different breed. I must be so naive. I must be a different species, 'cause I'm not breathing and I'm not eating and I'm not sleeping, but I'm still